Shalom. I'd like to give all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakak Radash, and double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. I came across this video here, brothers, and what made it interesting is not only the rebuttal, the denial, but also the information that is divulged during this interview here. This is literally somewhat of a precursor to Revelation, the 16th chapter and the 2nd verse. As a matter of fact, I have it queued up for you, brothers, and let me go to it very quickly, and I'm going to get right back to that video. And it reads, Revelation, the 16th chapter and the 2nd verse. And the first went out, the first what? The first angel went out and poured out his vial upon the earth, and there fell a noisome and grievous sore. And what's the noisome and grievous sore? If you go into those words, it's pus, ulcers, and essentially cancer. There fell a noisome and grievous sore upon the men which had the mark, and that word mark goes into the word charagma, which goes into the word charax, which is essentially the RFID C-hip. All right, a noisome and grievous sore fell upon the men which had the mark of the beast, and upon them which worship his image. You take the mark, you worship the image. Let me read to you, before I get to that video, I have to read you the copyright disclaimer, because we don't want this video to get hit with a copyright strike, right? The copyright disclaimer under the section of 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, an allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, commenting, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by the copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing non-profit educational personal use tipped to balance in favor of fair use. Now, with that being said, let's get to this story here and listen to what the first man to the left has to say. I have a few articles pulled up for you as well, brothers, which I'll leave links in the description, because I believe, in my humble opinion, if I read through them, this video will get hit with a medical misinformation strike. All right, but listen closely to what this man has to say. I'm gonna let all of this play out here.
Surgically implanting computers into humans is dangerous. Just how dangerous, we don't know yet, because that's how they release technology. As long as it doesn't kill you instantly or almost instantly, it's deemed safe for sale. And then it's 5, 10, 20 years later, we learn that it causes cancer, autism, birth defects, and more.
Now, when he said that, I said, hey, let me dig into this a bit. And here are just a few of the articles, brothers. There's a couple of dozen articles substantiating his point. And I won't even utter the words, because as I said previously, we want this video to go forth. And as you can see, this here article is from NBC News. Let's come from here, right? Let's go here. Just sharing information here. Look at what I discovered along the way.
By that point, we've become so dependent on the technology, we choose to live with the disease. But these exposures, these are crazy. We're talking about literally inside the body. Point blank range with zero distance. Day in, day out for years on end. What impact will that have? We don't know, but I can tell you it won't be good.
Now I'll say this, if you know or are aware anything about how, let me choose my words carefully, things are rolled out. The experimenting is done on mice, cats, dogs, monkeys, then people, okay? All right, but let's proceed.
Well, we're back talking about technology under our skin, and my next guest, who you just saw, says the electromagnetic frequency in technology is bad for your health, so much so that he doesn't have a microwave.
Hey, brothers, watch when this man starts to share information. This so-called man, Dr. Phil, he fumbles and stumbles over his words. He's unable to form a complete sentence because he knows that this man is telling the truth. But let's continue.
So joining us on stage is R, who believes human microchipping is dangerous and technology needs to be safer to use. You said we don't know what the effects are, but we know they're not good. How do you know they're not good?
Well, we now know, we have decades of science now on the health effects of EMF radiation. We're talking about thousands of studies at this point, high quality peer-reviewed science that links these exposures to numerous negative health outcomes, ranging from infertility and anxiety all the way up to multiple types of cancer and tumors and Alzheimer's disease and many, many more.
But wait a minute. You're saying that in broad generalization, and that's can be true if you're bombarded with really high levels. That's not true for people just sitting here under these lights.
So what I'm talking about, the science.
Hey, listen, I'm going to say this while the scripture is on my mind, and I'm just going to loosely paraphrase this. The scriptures tells us every word of Yahweh, why Yahweh Shai proves true. Remember, our power is not a man that he should lie. When the scriptures tells us every man that takes the mark will receive grievous sores, every man, woman, and child, and animal will receive grievous sores, ulcers, and cancers. But let's continue.
Science I'm talking about is that exposures at multiple orders of magnitude lower than what safety standards allow, and then what you would get from a regular cell phone.
I think we can just nip this all in the bud right now because these devices are passive. That means when they're not in the seconds of exposure of a very low frequency, low power field, they're dead. They're inert. They have no energy whatsoever.
So what does having that chip in your body for 20 years do on average to a population of 20,000 people?
Nothing. We know we've used this exact material since the 70s. There's been almost zero evidence of any kind of irritation. In fact, this material...
My understanding is that there's multiple studies dating from the 90s and the early 2000s demonstrating increased rates of tumor growth.
No, those are incorrect.
And
Actually,
what
what
studies are you referring to?
I'm talking about, well, I think...
Yeah, so there are 3 studies that were referenced, but these are all studies that were tumor studies in animals either genetically engineered to get tumors in order to study the tumors, or chemically induced tumors. The outcomes of the studies were noted that, oh, you know what, around the implants in these animals we're using to ID them, there were a tumor, but alongside 50 other tumors in these bodies. And it wasn't all, it was about 8% of those animals. So it was just a note in the study. But there are people that want to benefit off of this, people that write certain kind of books and certain kind of scare tactics, and they use these studies to say, look, it's bad, and this is all coming for you, and we want to sell you a book.
Do you have a story or a question for me?
Absolutely not, because we trust, in the word of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. Remember, the scriptures tells us that every word of our power be true, and every man be a liar. The book of Habakkuk, chapter 2, verse 3 tells us, for the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come, and it will not tarry. Brothers, this vision will come to pass. Hopefully, brothers, if we are of the elect, we shall never be deceived. Call Halal Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai. Shalom.